Welcome back, guys, and thank you for watching my previous videos on the history of South African cinema. I'm back with another speed bio video, and this one will not only be an homage to the OG king of candid camera.
In fact, I think you're one of the first few people to start bringing in international actors, which was huge for us as well.
But also celebrate the life and filmmaking history of this South African giant whose career is spanning multiple decades. This is Leon Schuster, a journey celebrated. Former South African box office heavyweight Leon Ernest Schuster was born May 21st, 1951 in a town situated in the southern part of Gauteng province called Vereeniging. Leon Schuster is the youngest son of Jessie Schuster, a former nursing sister who was 100 years old when she passed away, God rest her soul, leaving behind his youngest son Leon and his older brother Johann Schuster, who is still very much with us today. Although Mr. Schuster was born in Vereeniging, after he was born his family would move to the Free State province in Bloemfontein, where he would spend the rest of his childhood and do most of his schooling.
I wanted to become an actor, but there was no money. We lived in a suburb in Bloemfontein, which was a below average suburb.
Well, in regards to Leon's father, there's not much details except that he was a traveling salesman with a serious gambling habit. A dedicated dad in raising both Leon and Johann, and he would often see his family on weekends. When dad was not on the road, he would be motivating me, if not playing rugby with my brother and I, said Leon. In an interview by an online publication, Leon Schuster was asked about his early childhood memory in Bloemfontein and the inspiration behind his films, of which he went on to reply by saying, "There wasn't much money, but that taught me to walk on my feet on earth and not to fly in the sky. My childhood taught me to be humble and not to anticipate great success. My parents taught me that you need to work hard to achieve, and that's what I've been doing." Schuster is said to have been making short films with his brother since he was a little kid. Leon and his brother would play practical jokes on family members and capture those funny moments with their home video camera. When asked about his love and inspiration behind his work, he went on to say, "I'm inspired by the works I grew up with, like the Marx Brothers, Laurel and Hardy and Charlie Chaplin. I remember running down the aisle of the Ritz Theatre playing Cowboys and Crooks, which was all the rage at that time. I was always acting things out and pulling pranks. I used to fool my grandmother into thinking I'd shot myself in the foot with a pellet gun. Tomato sauce everywhere, me squealing like a pig. Pranking is just in my nature," said Leon.
Since I can remember, which was a very, very young age of 4 or 5, I was into movies big time. I wanted to become an actor. We had a theater in Bloemfontein in those days called the Ritz Theatre in Maitland Street. And Saturday for Saturday, my dad dropped me there, or I took my bicycle and I went to see the Marx Brothers, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Laurel, and all comedy stuff. I loved it. I fell in love with it.
Prior to Leon Schuster making a career out of making us laugh, he was a teacher, obtaining a scholarship in teaching and learning at the University of the Orange Free State, where he also played rugby for the first team. After graduating, Leon Schuster would get a job as a teacher at the same public Afrikaans medium co-educational high school he was once a learner, Hoërskool Jim Fouchi.
So I ended up studying to become a teacher, and I hated it.
Leon Schuster is a natural-born entertainer, and such talent is not meant for the classroom but the world stage. Hence his teaching career lasted no longer than 2 years, because a year later in 1975, Leon Schuster would trade being a teacher to working for the South African Broadcasting Corporation. Working for the SABC would boost Leon into a new stratosphere of creative opportunity, because he went on to create a hit Afrikaans radio series called Die Vryposte Microfoon with Vanus Reitenberg. The hit airwave series involved Leon and his co-host Vanus disguising their voice to prank unsuspecting callers. FYI, this was long before Wicked Simpson was known for doing that. With the success of the radio series came the idea to do the show in front of the camera, thus introducing Leon to the world of professional videography. But Leon Schuster was far from making movies, not until 1986. After being called Teacher Schuster for 2 years and a successful radio show, Leon would take a shot at music, resulting in a successful stint music career. Compiling a series of spot songs under the record label Decibel Records in 1982, the album went on to sell 10,000 units and be certified gold. This was followed by 2 more successful albums, Broekeskier and Breakdance and Leon Schuster, 20 Treffers, which both albums also went on to be certified gold. In 1986, Leon Schuster and his radio co-host Vanus Reitenberg would stop making amateur prank films and go pro. This is by collaborating with an experienced and well-seasoned filmmaker by the name of Elmo de Wet. Elmo had been making films since 1965, and with his experience as a film director and them coming in as strong writers, they were able to professionally put together a series of short candid camera skits that also involved the general public. They called that movie You Must Be Joking, and this film went on to be Leon's first film as a writer and actor. After the success of the first film, the following year the trio went on to collaborate on the sequel of the film You Must Be Joking 2, which was also well received, grossing over more than 40 million rands at the South African box office and going on to be one of Leon Schuster's hit classic films. Prior to Leon Schuster releasing You Must Be Joking, Leon Schuster was working with another established notable filmmaker by the name of Jamie Ace and appeared in Jamie's hit comedy film sequel Funny People 2. The funny thing is both Jamie and Leon Schuster's films are giving it's the same thing, just differently packaged if not differently presented. From the film titles to the pranks, to the candid camera and the setup and the whole everything, you can tell that one was inspired by the other. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. This video is about my goat, Matambo Shucks Schuster.
I only know what was told to me by Hekule's father, who was then the king.
The success of the sequel film You Must Be Joking 2 would signal the birth of a filmmaking star, because Leon Schuster would go on to rule the 80s and the 90s with his family-friendly comedy films that went on to become part of South Africa's mainstream entertainment. From the late 80s till late 90s, Leon Schuster would release hit classics like There's a Zulu on My Stoop, Panic Mechanic and Millennium Menace, to name a few, releasing a film almost every year from the 1980s until 2022. Leon Schuster's hit classic films have become part of our childhood memory, and watching them with friends and family always brings about a good nostalgic feeling that reminds me of how far we've come as South Africans and how much the world has changed around me. Just like a true filmmaker, Leon Schuster wore many hats when working on his film projects. Not only does he write, direct and produce his films, but he also stars in them and sometimes produces music for his films. Leon Schuster went on to make his directorial debut with Oh Shucks Is Schuster in 1989 alongside Andre Schultz as a producer. Another notable filmmaker to work with Leon Schuster is David Lester, who was also an established film director and would work with Leon Schuster on films like Oh Shucks, Here Comes Untag and Panic Mechanic, collaborating here and there every now and then. Ladies and gentlemen, and the saying goes, behind every successful man, there's a strong woman holding down the fort. Around the 90s, Leon Schuster would wed his now ex-wife, Layli, and their union would be blessed with 4 healthy, beautiful kids, Leander, Ernest, Lilani, and Rachel. However, the year 1999 must have been a bittersweet, if not a millennium menace for Leon Schuster, because he and the mother of his 4 kids would file for divorce. While on the other hand, Leon Schuster would release his successful cult classic film Millennium Menace alongside Desmond Dube. The film went on to make more than 30 million rands at the South African box office. Leon and Layli would remain good friends after their failed 20-year-old marriage. After that, Leon never remarried but continued dating. In 2014, Leon Schuster would find love in Amanda Coetzee, a real estate agent who was 40 years his junior. The couple will split in 2021, and when asked about his failed relationships, Leon went on to say, "I'm an insomniac and a workaholic. I've made 13 films in the past 20 years. Maybe that's why I don't have a woman. My movies always take first place," said Leon. The year is 1992, and this is post the bittersweet Millennium Menace. Now Leon Schuster would get into another long-term marriage, otherwise a business marriage, because he found the right business partner and collaborator who is also considered to be one of the foremost film and television directors and writer in South Africa. And that guy's name is Gray Hofmeyer. Many might not know his face, but I'm certain you are familiar with his work. Gray Hofmeyer created and produced South African primetime television hits like Suburban Bliss and Isidingo, with a career in film and television tracing back to the 70s. For the first time in 1991, Gray and Leon would collaborate on a film project, and Gray Hofmeyer would direct and co-write alongside Leon Schuster on the film project Sweet and Short. Leon Schuster would once again remind us who's the king of funny and the South African box office heavyweight. Gray Hofmeyer and Leon Schuster would come together again and give us the hilarious South African cult classic Mr. Bones in 2001. Mr. Bones was very well received by audiences both locally and internationally. The character Mr. Bones, played by Leon Schuster, was so iconic, memorable, and that's what I call an original South African knee slapper.
Go for me, bonehead!
He knows my name.
After the success of Mr. Bones, Leon Schuster released 2 more films which were a bit lukewarm to the audience. It wasn't until 2008 that Leon Schuster's highly anticipated sequel to the hit film Mr. Bones 2 Back from the Past, reminded everyone that Leon Schuster hasn't lost or broken one funny bone in his body. The man still had energy to perform on screen at 57 years of age, and the film made a healthy return of more than 30 million rands locally, outselling the first film by just 5 million Kruger rands. Well, unfortunately, Leon Schuster would not make much money from his hit classic films because of endorsing contracts that were not in favor of him getting any of the back-end deal profits from many of those profitable films.
Whenever I was writing the last few pages of the movie, somebody would come in and say, sign the contract. I said, get the bloody contract away. I don't want contracts. Just pay me whatever you think. Just give me chance to complete my movie. Finally, I signed the contract, and when payday came, I saw, hell, what did I do here? They just decided this is what we're going to pay Leon. It was meager. It wasn't big money. For you must be joking, my very first movie, I got a fee. That is for 6 weeks work. I got a fee of 20,000 rand. I got quite good fees for the movies, but I never got anything from the back end. That went to the producer and the executive producer.
Leon Schuster would also take on another knock when all his films were pulled from the monthly subscription streaming platform Showmax. Well, this whole situation started during the heightened Black Lives Matter protests. This was because Leon Schuster would often wear blackface in almost all his movies, playing different stereotypes of different races. I personally find this to be utter BS because Leon made fun of every racial stereotype, and we all laughed at our stupidity as South Africans without question. But it wasn't until 20 plus years later, Leon Schuster reacted by saying he was shocked and can't believe that the content of his films does any harm. He said his work is innocent and just him pranking people.
For me to see a theater full of the whole spectrum of an audience in South Africa, as I said, it makes my heart warm to see that we can laugh together. We don't have to be one in the cinema for an Indian movie, one in the cinema for whatever movie. We all sit together, and that brings people together. And when I get criticism, I say, who else? And I'm not trying to brag here, I'm just being honest. Who else has achieved that? To get all South Africans over the broad spectrum of race, culture, color, creed, all of them in one theater, and they laugh at the same thing. That is extremely heartwarming for me, and I am proud that I am a guy that succeeded in doing this.
Laughter is healing, and indeed you did bring us joy to our hearts, and you did bring us together. Thank you, Malume.